instances, the seller will get their own appraisal, but it's going to be a lot different versus a purchase.
Andrew, what does a home inspector do?
So the home inspector, he kind of goes throughout the whole house, starts on the outside, checks around all the windows, garage door opener, looks for dry rot, any kind of signs of water leakage and drainage around the house. I mean, they do a very thorough job. They're usually there for between depending on the size of the house, a couple hours. And, it's a little bit scary at times because the seller, will get surprised about some of the things that they find because they've lived there for such a long time and they don't really notice all the little nuances on the house. They check the roof, the chimney, all the electrical. And the buyer, it's just a really eye-opening experience for them as well because it shows them what kind of maintenance the house is going to need in the next few years. So not always are the items they find are detrimental, like they need to be repaired right away. It's more finding out the age of the heater, the air conditioner, plumbing, and kind of an expected life expectancy of when those are going to be needing to be replaced. And so not always, but some of the times the buyer will receive a credit and they'll get some money to be able to apply towards those repairs. Maybe not to cover all of them, but a portion. So it kind of depends on the market, right? If it's a buyer's market, seller's market, it kind of determines how much they're willing to give.
When in the process should you get an inspector?
Sometimes the seller will actually get it done. So before they put the house on the market, to kind of avoid those surprises, they'll actually, schedule it, pay for it themselves. But typically it is the buyer's responsibility. And some buyers will actually get a second opinion and a second report done.
Really?
And kind of cross reference. But it just kind of varies on, how proactive the seller wants to be.
That's interesting to get a second inspector.
Sometimes it may be a few months have gone by. So maybe if they got it inspected, let's say in July, and they put the house on the market a few months later, and let's say you go in a contract, in the wintertime, it would be a good idea to get a second inspection to kind of see it during a different season.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you have as a seller, if you get your house inspected beforehand, what's the length you typically want to in terms of the turnover before you put it on the market?
Probably as short as possible, really. I mean, if it could be within the same month, it's great. You just want the weather conditions to be similar because, if it rains, you want to find out if there's standing water under the house, how the drainage looks, any, leaking in the roof or gutters, stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. And then as the buyer, when do you typically get an inspection on the house?
Usually within the first week. So when you put an offer on a house, you have a certain amount of time to be able to complete your inspections. Typically they're about 17 days, which is a good amount of time. And also it depends on the turnaround time of the inspector, because if they're booked up and they can't get out there for a week, that already eats up, a third of your time. And in this market that we're in right now, the sellers want as short as time frame as possible. So that's why it's a good idea if they can actually get it done ahead of time, or at least schedule it. That way we're already beating the clock.
Okay. And let's move on to appraisals. So for appraisals, when should I get an appraisal as a seller?
Well, the same thing. I mean, in some instances, the seller will get their own appraisal, but it's going to be a lot different versus a purchase. So basically what an appraisal is a third-party opinion of value. But when you're actually buying a home and getting a loan, the lender is the one that's going to order the appraisal. And so the buyer pays for that. And they're basically a third party. They're not related to anybody in the contract. And they do get a copy of the purchase contract. So their job is to try to support that value. So they're going to look at recent sales in the neighborhood within the last 6 months and their goal and their objective is to support whatever purchase price that is. And in some cases it's a little lower, some cases it may be higher.
Okay, so the appraisal is basically they're verifying the house that it is indeed worth. It is what it is. So as a buyer, like in terms of getting that appraisal, or like when does that happen in the process? Is typically after, or it's like
it's part of the contingency, so that it gets ordered, I would say anywhere between 48 to 72 hours after the contract is complete. And then it has to be scheduled with an appraiser, so it could take anywhere from another 4 to 7 days for them to get out there. Once they go out there, measure the house, take pictures, make sure there's no health or safety violations. Usually there's like another 2 or 3 day turnaround time to get that. So like I said, in the contract it's usually about 17 days to be able to get that completed.
Got it. Okay. The appraiser, what is the appraiser like? What are they looking for, like in the house? Like, what are they looking at?
Well, they're comparing it versus other comparables. So what holds the most weight is other sold homes. And so the homes in the same neighborhood, similar age, similar square footage, that's what they're really looking for.
Got it. Okay. And then, so this current market, like we hear people are waiving appraisals, waiving inspections. Could you speak into that a little bit?
So yeah, one thing that's actually different right now is for the appraisals, they're doing desktop appraisals, which means they're not even going in the homes. And so it kind of speeds up the process, but it is a little bit more risk because you're not seeing the inside of the home. There could be open walls, there could be damaged flooring, and so they're really not I think part of it is because of the COVID. They're trying to do a lot less close contact.
That's interesting. And then for inspections, I've heard people are waiving inspections as well. Like, what's
right? Well, most of the time, like I said, if they already have all their reports done ahead of time, basically the buyer can review those before they even submit their offer. So that is something that's happening more and more with the current market.
That's really interesting. What about common misconceptions? So like people commonly think the appraisal is the final price of the home. Is that true? Could you talk about that?
Yeah, in some cases, the appraisal may come in higher than the purchase price. So in that case, the price doesn't change. It just means that the buyer is actually going to have a little bit of built-in equity. But in the case that it comes in lower, then the buyer has a chance to renegotiate the price because the value came in shorter than what they offered. And so in some cases, the seller actually asked the buyer to come in with a difference. So let's say the difference is $10,000 short of appraised value. They would want the buyer to actually make up the difference out of pocket.
Yeah, in cash.
In cash, yeah.
Which is, I know in this current market, like that's happening quite a bit.
And also there's a lot of cash buyers. So if they're buying a home cash, there is no appraisal. What it kind of means is they're willing to buy it regardless of what a third party thinks it's worth.
Got it. Got it. That's interesting. For this whole process, getting your house appraised, getting your house inspected, are there, I guess, certain parties or companies you recommend, or have you used different companies and you've kind of figured this company but not this one, or you kind of have weeded them out, I'm sure?
With the inspectors, usually there's a home inspector and then a separate pest inspector. So there's a handful in town that I use. And then as far as appraisal, I have no one has any part in that. It's basically goes through it's called an appraisal management company. Short for that, it's called AMC. So they control who goes out there and does the appraisals.
So it's indeed independent.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to avoid what happened last time in 2005, 2006, where, the agents were handpicking the appraisers, and, they're taking them out for lunch and dinner and kind of making it very apparent that they were going to get the value that they're,
Oh, wow.
we're going after.
I didn't know that happened in 2005.
Yeah, you're probably still in middle school.
That's actually really terrible. I understood the underwriting, like the loans, people were just getting approved, like whoever, if you had a pulse,
Right.
I didn't realize the appraisers too were kind of, back then they had their hands in the pot as well.
Yeah, it was pretty much a free-for-all.
Right. Yeah, that's insane. Little history right there, but that's good that now it's like there's like measures in place to kind of separate that and to prevent that from happening again. Cool. Anything else on appraisals or inspections you might want to share?
Well, typically the cost of that is from the buyer. So the appraisal definitely, and then in some cases, if the inspections haven't been done, and then the buyer would be paying for those.
Got it. So they should kind of be prepared for that expense on their end.
Yeah.
And what's the typical cost for that?
For a pest, anywhere around $400. Home inspection, about between $400 to $500. It all depends on the size of the home too.
Yeah.
Then there's other inspections you can get done: pool inspections, chimney inspections. If it's on a well, then do a well inspection. So yeah, it can start adding up pretty quickly.
Yeah, but that's good. You said it depends on the property, like what you're buying. For the inspection, is there do they have tiers of inspection that they do, or how do they charge? They just charge by size of the property, or
some companies offer more than one service. So if you did multiple, there's one company, if you do a home and a pest inspection, they give you a free roof inspection. So yeah, pretty much they're all pretty standard. Pretty similar price.
Yeah. They have different angles in which they're trying to earn your business. That's cool. All right. I think that's it in terms of that. Thanks for that info. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching my video. To learn more tips and tricks how to save money or make money in any real estate market, please like and subscribe. My goal is to keep giving you valuable content that you can use. Any questions, please comment. Thank you.